The public hearing concerning the rezoning of two places, Will Robertson, Dollar General at 2125 Bogard Road, map 073, parcel 095, to be rezoned from R1 to C1. And then number 2, Darren Coster Creeks End LLC at Creeks End Way, lots 2 to 18, control map 077, parcel 013.02 to -013.06, control map number 07 to 031.06-031.18, to be combined into one lot and rezoned from R1 to A1. At this time, Jackie Grooms. Come on. Yeah, that's fine. Just pull the microphone down and just state which one you're talking about, which one you want to speak about.
I think we're here for something different. We're supposed to be getting our property before we can get a house on it. We were told to be here tonight for this meeting.
If it's this one here, you may be talking about the 6 o'clock.
Probably.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
All right. So there's a white that's here. Same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess it's Mr. Coster. Do you have anything to say since there's no one else here?
As long as nobody's supposed to just turn it back into agriculture, I'm good.
One last call for anybody here in the public hearing concerning these rezoning. Sir?
I'm Will Robinson, representing the Dollar General project.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure that we're moving forward and we're requesting a rezoning, and if you guys have any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Is there any more public input concerning these two zones, these two items? If not, this meeting is adjourned till 6 o'clock.
It's just really important to us to have our kids on the land that was intended for them when we bought it. Like I said, it's been almost 30 years ago now. And if we can, we greatly appreciate it. And it's not going to be a subdivision, it is private property.
And you're going to gift them, from what I'm understanding, 4 acres each.
Right. We have 3 kids, and they're each going to be gifted 4 acres for each of the 3 kids. So yeah, it's going to be an inheritance.
And you're hitting that 5 acre, correct? All right. Or through the state, the state law. We'll get with Phil if you, at some point, you chat with him and come on.
Okay.
All right, we'll discuss it again when it comes up.
Yep.
All right.
Is that tonight, or is that a different
We'll
day?
be discussing it tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Cocke County Legislative Body is now in session. Chairman Norman Smith presiding. Mayor Rob Mathis not present.
Mr. Baxter, release the purpose.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day, and thank you for the time that we can be here to represent our county. And I just ask, Father, that you'll send the Holy Spirit in to guide us and help us to do that. What we do here and say is pleasing to you and pleasing to the people of this beautiful county. Please forgive us where we failed thee and be with us, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Mr. Temple, will you release the questions? I saw John.
He left already.
Okay. Mr. McMahon.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Thanks to everybody that's come out tonight. If you have your cell phones, if you'd silence them, I'd greatly appreciate it. First thing on the agenda tonight will be roll call.
Andy Ford, Bill Miller,
Here.
Caleb Blazer, Jason McMahon,
Here.
Norman Smith,
Here.
Tracy Stepp,
Here.
Jonathan Templin, Jeff Esslinger,
Here.
Dan Bright,
Here.
Wilma Ball,
Here.
Rick Vassar,
Yes.
David Verdoff,
Yes.
Tim Langman, Billy Guston.
Yes, ma'am.
10 present, 4 absent.
Next thing on the agenda will be approval of minutes. Have a motion to approve. Mr. McMahon and Mr. Esslinger. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Elections, appointments, reports. Notaries, Kenneth Peter Katafi, Kevin Lee Holcomb, Emily Sue Chapman, Deborah F. Esslinger, Carol Lynn Ramsey, Emily Ann Stanton, and Roy Dennis Suggs. We have a motion to approve. Ms. Ball, seconded by Mr. Miller. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. B, in the matter of accepting the following quarterly reports, Circuit Court and Juvenile Court. We have a motion to approve. Mr. McMahon, seconded by Mr. Stepp. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. C, in the matter of accepting the following annual reports. Chancery Court and General Sessions Court. We have a motion to approve. Mr. Esslinger, seconded by Mr. Bryant. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye. All opposed? That motion carried. In the matter of any committee reports, budget. Nothing?
No,
A new year.
holiday.
Anything for sanitation? General? Public safety? Nothing for purchasing? County mayor is absent. County attorneys, they had a family emergency. She had to go out of town also. In the matter of report from county commissioners, if any? Hearing none, matter of report from Cocke County Partnership.
Good evening. Hopefully, first we started out with a different report. Hopefully that was substantial for you. We tried to do a lot more detail to understand where things are. And Darrell will go through that report with any questions you all have. Tonight I have an update on restructure of the board. And with that, we previously were given a format from Mayor Mathis that had a different number of appointees than the original charter. We worked through that and approved that prior to the last CLB meeting. We had Commissioner Vassar brought to our attention and a request to fulfill the obligation outlined in the original documents. And I know I've talked to other commissioners as well about that. So we do have one restructure that is approved. I do want to say I'd like to know if the board, if the CLB would like the full document. I don't see that as an issue. As you probably all saw in the plain talk, the city thought it was already approved, so they went ahead and put people on for the committee for the new setup. So if we go with what was outlined, and I know there is interest, Commissioner Vassar brought it to our attention, but I've talked to Commissioner McMahon and others, that would give, basically the structure would be for the city, the mayor, and 2 aldermen plus the city manager. Cocke County would have the mayor plus 3 CLB members. Parrotsville would have the mayor and a second Parrotsville commissioner or legislative body member. One Greenbelt, a private sector chosen by the executive committee of the chamber. Private sector selected by the executive committee of tourism. We don't have either of those, so that would probably go to the executive board of the partnership. A private sector from the Businesswomen's Association, one from industry, one from finance or utilities, and one at large. And that differs from the previous proposal in which the county would only have the mayor plus 2 individuals, and it would allow another voting member, another member that the CLB votes on. I don't see an issue with going back to our original document, if that's what the CLB chooses. What we can do is, I've talked to several members. I don't see it as an issue, and we could pass that on Thursday evening at our meeting, and we could place all new members in August. So I wanted to, I know it's a report, not really shouldn't be asking questions, but I really want to make sure we're open for change, and we want to create an environment that everybody can participate. So at the CLB's request, we'll go with either one. Now, the second important thing is, we haven't talked about this, but this is another extremely important committee that we want CLB involvement in. It's not the partnership, but it's the Industrial Development Board. And this is important because the board's been established but has not met in years. This committee oversees the innovation part. It deals with pilot, payment in lieu of taxes. It deals with tax incentives. And it deals with the real estate and everything in the industrial park. So I think and on this one, this is straight, there's no discussion. The city gets the mayor plus 6 members it can appoint. It doesn't have to be aldermen. And Cocke County gets the mayor plus 7 members. That can be CLB members, that can be community members, whomever you choose. We want to get this committee moving quickly. We've got activity at the park, and we've got many strategic decisions for the county that has to be done. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I've talked to Mayor Mathis, and he will be approaching the CLB with this. We'd like to have these individuals named for the next meeting. And I'm not sure, excuse me, sir, the process, but whichever the CLB desires, the previous proposal or this, the desired CLB, we will make it happen on Thursday.
They're wanting to meet Thursday. It's a little unprecedented. I would like to open that part as far as the new board up for discussion tonight. I'd like to get everybody's thoughts on the new board structure. Do you want it with the 3 members? Is that what the consensus of the board is? Because, and look, nothing at Mr. Vassar, but hey, I want to make sure we get the whole board. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I understand what Mr. Vassar is coming from, but I want to make sure the whole board's on board with this. Let's hear some discussion.
My biggest question is, what's going to happen? Just say, I'm looking at down the road. If we politicize this board, there's elections every 4 years. Where you going to start over every 4 years?
So, yeah, the vast majority is political. You would serve the length of a term. If re-elected, you have the opportunity to get back on. But you are right. Every election cycle, there's the risk of a large turnover. But I think,
what's that going to do to projects that are ongoing? I'm just asking.
So I think with the right person in place, things will be managed. But this also allows more strategic thought going forward. So it's not just a project, but with individuals, CLB and aldermen, we can really paint a picture of how it affects the county long term.
I mean, don't get me, I'm all for the CLB having input on these boards, but if we get, if these boards are comprised mainly of elected officials, and then they all get beat, and you're starting over again.
That is an issue, but I think, you know, with a steady director at the wheel, there'll be that knowledge, and there'll be enough shared knowledge the whole time that I think that, yeah, an orientation period after the election, but I think with that, there's going to be so much shared knowledge that I don't think anything's going to fall off. But it is going to be an issue. I mean, every 4 years or so, whoever gets beat, there will be some substitution. But I don't see a blanket of all members losing. But it is something to be cognizant of. But you know, I think on the partnership board, I'm more concerned on the IDB side because, and that doesn't have to be CLB, but it's important that it is because taxes. Yeah.
I firmly believe we need input.
So the problem.
Anything else to communicate that to this board, what's going on there.
Yes. So, but with this new structure, there's 7 members on the IDB, and then if you have 4, that's 11 potentially, depending who the mayor would like to put on. So it's up to you guys too, how much bandwidth you have. But you always have, if we do this structure on the IDB, you can put as many as you like, but I think that's an excellent point.
So that being said, is there any other comments from Ms. Brackley?
Yes, I'd like to know what you're gonna do about transparency. I think a lot of your problems are caused by lack of transparency.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. I think this report, hopefully, if we follow this pattern, I think that not only with this report, but also how we report verbally, because again, we're realizing these projects affect the whole county. And we're going to see it when we talk about the sewer and other developments. So I agree with you 100%. So, and transparency will be elevated.
Any time in the past that I've asked any questions, I've been told that they don't have to answer them.
We do have to answer. We have an obligation to you. Thank you.
I agree. Anybody on this CLB that is asked a question, you're elected to represent these people, and I think you should know what's going on. Now, I understand that there are going to be times when a new business is going to come in, and there's going to be non-disclosure agreements. And I hope that they can trust these people to, okay, talk to you and let you know, but there's still things that the public will not be able to know all the times because of some of these non-disclosure agreements that some companies coming in. I understand that. Ms. Gerald, you just want to say something?
I just had a question and a statement.
Yes, sir.
The question is, it sounded like to me that the structure of the partnership is going to be set up with positions, with the exception of that large member, correct? They're all going to be positions?
Yes, sir. And there's one for industry, there's one for utilities, and then an at-large. So, and then there's 2 other members determined by tourism and chamber. So
Okay.
we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 12 that are elected officials.
And I'm not saying I'm for or against when I make this statement, but I've been going to these meetings long enough, and I'm old enough to remember when Don and I started this partnership, they wanted it to be non-political. They didn't want any politics involved in it. You probably remember that.
They started that before I came. That was started before I came on board, but I do remember it. And I'll make.
And I'm not saying that's.
So let me ask you something. I don't think, so just the general consensus is they don't have a problem with the 3 members. I mean, we're listening to the chairman. He don't have a problem with it. So if he's the chairman, I believe in letting these boards do what these boards are supposed to do. And if he don't have a problem with it, I personally don't have a problem with it myself. I will say this, we don't want it to be political because politics and the good old boy is what put this county 30 years behind every county beside us. So if it ever starts getting political, then you've got a mess. If it don't benefit me, I don't want it. folks, that happened in the past, and we don't want to get back to that. But if the chairman says he don't have a problem with this board structure, I don't have a problem with it. So I think you're hearing the three members. I think you're hearing that the three members is fine with most of the board.
I'm for the 3 members. I think it's a good idea. Yep.
And I do ask, if you do get appointed to this board, please get involved. The last thing we want to do is push to get members on here that don't show up half time.
Don't take the position if you're not going
Exactly.
to back it up and be there. And
Right. Right.
Because I think, and we'll go over this, but you see the amount of money that flows through projects, and it's real important because there's matching funds. So, yeah, if you do get involved, it's a great way to move the county forward, and you can be part of it.
I'm
Yes,
only concerned about that, like Commissioner Hudson said there, if you've got 3 people and they all get beat or they quit, then you're starting all over again every 4 years. And countless times in local and all, everything, when the office changes, when the leader changes, the entire project's change. And we don't have the money to waste for 3 years, 4 years, and somebody else get in and say, well, we're gonna cancel that, start something new. That's my only.
Yeah, that would be scary. I think.
Yeah, that's happened thousands of times, not necessarily here, but, overall.
Yeah, and I can understand that. I think, again, these projects, as I'm seeing, are not isolated to partnership. They're countywide. And I think it's important to have some more representation. But if we're all cognizant of that people can get beat, that's important. But to your point, if we are transparent in sharing information, everyone should know, the county should know, and I think everybody's going to have a better sense of how the projects are moving. And as we talk about with some of these projects, we're going to be able to step in and take care of things earlier. Because I do know, I don't want to jump ahead, but the sewer project, that's a large county discussion, not just the money and engineering.
Transparency is great, but like I said, if you change people every 4 years, you're gonna have problems. I mean, that's my initial thought on that.
I think, folks are generally rational, and I think if they get elected, get an orientation, I could be naive too, but no one wants to erode progress on the county. But I appreciate that.
Mr. McMahon.
If I'm not mistaken, on the original agreement that you're talking about, these positions are staggered anyway. They're not for 4-year terms.
Correct. Yeah, it would be length of office, and then you can stagger.
So that would help with some of their concerns as well if you stagger these.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes. Excellent. Thank you for that. So there's some built-in.
Yeah, I would say when you put these on here, if these terms are staggered, it's a good idea. And even if they lose the election, they stay on that board till their term's up.
Yes.
Then I think that needs to be put in place. That way you don't have a huge turnover every time you have an election, that you do stagger these terms. I think that's the best way to approach it. And that way, that helps you, Mr. Steph, you're not.
How many other counties do it this way?
It varies. Gerald, do you want to address that one?
Your situation is kind of unique as far as the IDB. Most counties do not have any elected officials on there by state law. You are chartered entirely different, and I called and did a little bit of research on that. So for IDB wise, you are chartered as a joint industrial development board. Greene County has one like that. There are several other counties, but it's not a very common model across the state of Tennessee. As far as partnership, occasionally there's 1 or 2 representatives who would serve as elected officials on the board. Most of the time, it's the mayor in an ex officio position. But again, this is a little bit of a unique situation or opportunity, whichever way you want to look at it. So, now that's just answering across, just from my experience over the years, to have each municipality or county government represented, but that doesn't always, in those situations, sometimes most of those are ex officio, so you're more
You understand, we don't want to follow people who are not succeeding.
That's
You
correct.
understand, we don't want to repeat what they're doing. We
Yeah.
don't want to get pushed. We want to bar and make it.
You want to follow best practices
Correct.
of those who are successful and those communities that are thriving, making progress, moving forward.
And the staggered terms, I probably don't know anything about that, but that is the easy fix.
And I just want to make a quick comment, it doesn't hurt to attend the meetings even if you're not on the boards. I mean, we can still attend the meetings, you can ask questions, you can make comments, you can be, you can be interactive with the boards, you just don't get to vote. I mean, it's the only thing, but you still, be obligated to attend, I think.
Any other questions, so we can move on? Anyway,
When the 6th District reached out to you, Mr. Barton, and the board, this is all the 6th District had. I asked you all for a contract. There was not a contract given. The 6th District looks at this to be a big, big step forward. The contract, that is going to be one of the biggest moments in Cocke County when we formed this contract with the city of Newport, the city of Parrotsville, and Cocke County. That will take care of a lot of the newly appointed officials or whoever. You're going to have a contract. You will have the cities involved in this also.
Yep.
So I think this will be a big, big step forward for Cocke County and the Cocke County.
and this needs to come before, at the next meeting, if once approved from you, it needs to come before us, let us vote on that and get it signed.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so I'm not sure, but yeah, we can rework this, get
Okay.
signatures, and we're willing to.
Just the
validate-
signature that we approved it, I guess.
Yes, yes.
Fine. Okay. Mr. Ray?
Thank you, and first of all, let me say thank you for your service to the community. I know, having been an elected official before for 7 years, it takes a lot of time to do your research and homework. It takes time away from your family and your jobs. So thank you for being willing to serve and putting your name on the ballot. That doesn't go unnoticed and appreciated by a lot of folks, and I'm certainly one of those. Let's just dig in, and I think where we are right now is start fresh with a positive relationship, and I'll work with you, and I'll gladly provide each one of you my cell phone number. You can call me anytime, and we'll talk about anything you want to talk about, and we'll just move forward from that standpoint. So let me give you a quick overview of the projects that are currently going on. I'm not going to talk about any, this may be a prospect, or that may be a prospect, or anything like that. I'm going to talk about what's real and substantive at this point, and provide you a little bit of background on it, just so that everybody knows what's going on. Is that a good starting point for all of us? Okay. All right, the first project is Hall's Top Bike Trails. Okay, so don't get confused, because initially, this project has been referred as Green Mountain or Hall's Top or Bike Trails. So let me give you some background. Several years ago, U.S. Senator Lamar Alexander convened a meeting of people in Sevier County. Initially, he tasked the National Park Service to come up with some ideas on some economic impacts. The Foothills Parkway for 50 years had a missing link. You couldn't drive on it. There was always a stop point, and that project got completed. Missing link in November. I was fortunate enough to be there, and then shortly thereafter, Senator Alexander, knowing his retirement was impending, got all the surrounding counties together, Cocke County, Sevier County, and Blount County. Initially, the project, the Park Service, he said, what do we do with this easement or byway that the United States federal government owns? And we all know that nothing's probably going to happen to it for another 50 years to complete the parkway on this side. So he said, what do we do with it? And he said, well, let's find an economic opportunity. So everyone was offered to give opinions. There were study groups. The Park Service came back with a recommendation that it go over in Blount County. To his credit, Senator Alexander said, I'd like to see something happen in Cocke County. And so the project was moved to Cocke County. I was there. I was sitting at the meeting representing former Congressman Phil Rowe, and that project then switched over to the United States Forest Service. Okay, so we've gone from one federal agency to another. Started off with a $500,000 grant to do a study, and then this study was done, and they came back and said, there's a huge growth in bike trails, and there could be some economic impact there, and it doesn't cost a whole lot of money to do, but hopefully it could bring some money in. So that was moved over to the Cocke County side. The $500,000 was planning, and then after that, $6 million was allocated. So now you're probably wondering, all right, where are we now? All right, we have a special use permit called a SF-299. It was submitted last Friday. We submitted that to United States Forest Service, and then we were tasked, or the partnership was tasked, with finding a group or an entity that would provide for the maintenance and the upkeep of the trails. So that was found by a private entity. They entered into a legal contract that satisfies the United States Forest Service. So once that is submitted, as it was supposed to be last Friday, the United States Forest Service has 30 days to respond, and then it comes back to us, and then the firm that was contracted out to do the planning and write the initial program, they then have another 2 or 3 months, and then it goes out to bid. And there's $5.5 million left that's going to be spent for development of bike trails. I think you'll see a huge economic impact on that in the future, and hopefully it will be one that will be much like the success story that you've had with your whitewater rafting over the years. Okay, so that's project number one. Project timeline, hopefully going out to bid will be within 3 to 6 months, provided everything goes well. So hopefully we'll get something going on. Pardon me?
For the construction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And there's already companies who are contacting, yes. Now, that money is not sitting with us or in our Cocke County. That money is, the initial $500,000 stayed in Washington, D.C. That $5.5 million goes to the Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development, and then that draws down, and the projects go out, and whoever wins that bid is paid through those contracts. So that money is not sitting in the bank anywhere here in Cocke County, okay? Project number 2, Economic Development Administration Master Plan. Okay, EDA. And stop me if I use any acronyms, because I know it can just be a little bit tedious. EDA is a branch of the federal government under the Department of Commerce. It's a federal agency. They help communities with economic development plans. A project was awarded to Cocke County for $120,000 to develop a master plan that offers you suggestions and tips on what to do for Cocke County's future economically. We are close to finishing that up. They are contracted out with a firm called CLB LLG, which is Community Development Group. We have about, this was a 100% grant, so no money came out of Cocke County towards this grant. All the money came into Cocke County for this grant, and I think there's like $12,000 or $13,000 that the contracting firm is owed. That doesn't come from us. That comes from the federal government. Now, once this plan is approved, it will be posted on our website for everyone to see, public comments, and we will provide you with an electronic copy, and if you want, we'll paper copy that to you as well so you can review that. Okay? So that's project number 2, Economic Development Administration Master Plan. Okay? Project number 3, Smoky Mountain Innovation Park. This is the industrial park out here on Highway 25E. All right. Hopefully by the next meeting, I can bring you an updated map on the board and show you what all's going on there. And then also, I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that we all go out one night and have a tour of it and just kind of walk the property and drive and meet out there and say, okay, here's what's going on. 2 or 3 different grants going on at that park. They do have a business out there. It was initially Eternal Beverage Company, but it's Newport Bottling Company now. That's kind of your anchor tenant, so to speak. The road's been paid for, the economic development is done, or the environmental assessment has been done, okay? The engineer of record on that is Robert Campbell, does a good job. So you've got 2 different grants. You got TVA, and TVA comes in and says, we'll give you money to pave the pads and get it ready, okay? TVA's maximum funding is $500,000. Non-TVA funding is $320,000. Total project, $820,000. So, there's a match for that. The mayor, I invited the mayor to sit in on a meeting the other day with TVA officials, and so that's where money is allocated for that park. That's where it goes, okay? The grading, there has been 2 sites already completed, plus the road, and there is another site that's underway, so now they're going to start working their way down the hill to where that kind of the shrub is, the grass, some trees there, and they'll work their way down there and start finishing that. So there's a TVA portion there. Money has been expended for that, which already includes a retention pond and the road, okay? We have to work out 3 more things that I've got to get done. Those 3 things are, number 1, we've got to make sure that there's an adjoining property owner that wants an easement, and we want to make sure that we're okay within legally, that we're not on their property, and doing everything the right way there. There's a turn lane that's going to be finished off by TDOT. Okay, so we got to provide a certificate of insurance to make sure of that, and then also we got to put up a sign. Now, when you get into this stuff, there's requirements like TDEC requires that you have to account for this bats or a bat study, and then some other study down there on the lower end of that property with some trees. And once I get an updated map, I'll show it to you, or we'll drive out there and take a look. Now, there's another entity that provides funds for the grading that enables counties to afford to do projects like that, and that's called an SDG grant or a site development grant, okay? Now, that comes through the state of Tennessee, and that comes through the state of Tennessee's Department of Economic and Community Development, and so they track that. So, the good news was the grading and ground prep work was won by a local bidder who gave a pretty good price, and so that work that he's been doing on is funded through that. Okay? Now, we don't keep up with, we have to reimburse the bills, but that rolls through those are submitted from the contractor to the engineer of record, and it's verified that it's done, and then it's turned into the state of Tennessee. Okay? There is a local match on that. I have met with an engineering firm to kind of get an update on that. We brought him up and had a thing on that. We do have to also provide access to Lot 8 according to an attorney who's working with the Planning Commission, so we'll get that taken care of. The next thing that we'll be working on there is the utilities, the sewer and the water in there. So we'll be applying for another grant there, and that's priority number 1 is the sewer and the water there. Okay? And that meeting was held on Wednesday, July the 10th. Okay, this is the big project, and then as we're talking, while we're all talking on the streets or something like that, if you come up and ask me a question, just make sure that we're all on the same page. So we've got the sewer project that's going to be coming up in the Smoky Mountain Innovation Park. This next project I call the Cosby Sewer Project. That's a project to extend sewer out to Cosby High School. First, it will have to go through Edwina, and gonna have to have a couple of pump stations. Totally different engineering firm working on this. Cannon & Cannon out of Knoxville is the engineer of record on this project. Okay, we still need to verify some costs on this, but it looks like we're gonna, and I'm gonna give it to you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Looks like we're gonna be short on the funding for this project, so that means we're gonna have to hustle up and go find another funding source. And we have we kind of have some thoughts on that I'll get with each one of you later and kind of get your thoughts on it as well. But first, it's got to reach the Wilton Springs exit, and then from there, the Cosby High School. Okay? So there's the Cosby Sewer Extension Project. There is one, I have been talking to a couple different friends. I'm like, this seems very expensive on this project. And evidently, topography and going under two rivers is kind of what's driving the cost up on that a little bit, but I need to get with Newport Utility, just kind of make sure that we're all on the same page. And then, of course, you never know until it goes out to bid. Now, this initial project was started with the ARPA funds, the American Recovery Act funds, that goes back during COVID. If I say anything wrong, Heather, you feel free to correct me, okay? So I'm new to catching up on all this. The Wilton Springs Force Main will be the first to be bid out later this year. That's scheduled for the last part or the last quarter of 2024. Okay? This is not an overnight project. I want to be a little bit more comfortable before I get too deep into this to meet with the engineers. But I've only had one meeting with them, but I'd like to come back and be a little bit more knowledgeable about it. But that's going to be this is going to be a monster project. So, but I think for your future, as someone who's kind of been in your community over the years, I think for your future it's incredibly important. Everybody thinks economic development is really glamorous and you're going to go here and recruit this company and all that, but at the end of the day, you got to have a sewer. So that's just straightforward. That's kind of where I'm at on that. You may hear another acronym run around ARC. ARC is the Appalachian Region Commission. That is a federal agency that puts money out to communities in the Appalachian region, which includes Tennessee all the way up to West Virginia, Georgia, some parts of Mississippi. Not necessarily all of Tennessee either, but mostly East Tennessee, North Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and West Virginia, and some in North Carolina as well. So that's where we are. I will do my best to answer your questions. I'll be glad to work with you. I think at the end of the day, everybody wants the same thing, to see your county move forward. Cocke County is a beautiful county. You want to make it the best it can be to live, work, and raise a family. At the end of the day, that's probably what we should all ask ourselves if we go home. Did I make it better to live, work, and raise a family today?
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Back to the innovation part.
Yes, sir.
Before Mr. Graham left, the mayor and they all met with some people from Japan. It was a gun barrel manufacturing facility that was going to come to the innovation part. What's happened to that?
We have sent them a sales purchase agreement from the attorney. First week on the job, I called him, was able to get in touch with him. He's gone to Japan, but I have reached out and let them know that we still welcome them to our community. And we're waiting to hear back from him when he gets back, but he has the paperwork on his desk. I will go meet with him. We have a mutual acquaintance.
It's my understanding that was going to be a very good advanced manufacturing facility that was going to come up there.
I think it is a good project, and it would be one that you would be happy to have in your community. And I think it would be a project that you would be happy to have. And I will pledge to you, I'll follow up again with him this week. Hopefully he's back by now, but I did call a week and a half ago, and he has the paperwork on his desk. So I think the most important thing, not to sound like this is some kind of recruiting thing, but you have to contact all the recruits, just like when the coach changes.
I've got another question.
Okay?
Before you got here, again, we were discussing property that the county owns out on 411, the intersection of 411 and 2570, about getting it,
Appraised?
finding a developer for it. The county's owned it forever.
Yes.
And have you been briefed on that or anything?
I have not been briefed on that, but the bill came through for the appraisal, and I have the appraisal back. And I'm willing to share that with you, but,
$1.6 million or something.
well, I don't know the figure off the top of my head, but I know, I had somebody
I mean,
check
there's
on.
about 9.5 acres out there.
Yeah,
Something that's prime commercial property, something needs to be done with it.
yeah, you're right, it's a good little piece of property. It's a good location,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Baxter.
This is about the Cosby Sewer Extension Project. First of all, I want to thank you, Mr. Brady. I've sat on this board for 22 months, and this has been the best report that I've heard heard the economic director or fill in or whatever you call your position, this has been the best one I've sat in on. But I do want to address the Cosby Sewer Extension Project. I fully support, the 6th District is speaking here. I fully support the Cosby Sewer Extension Project. We need for the Wilton Springs 440 exit, as well as the Cosby High School and Cosby Elementary School. We need this project. According to the documents provided by the partnership, the Cosby Sewer Extension Project has 5 phases, with 5 separate construction contracts to be bid at estimated total cost of $35.6 million. Do you agree with that?
That sounds right. The figure I've got is 35.6.
Okay, good. We're on the same page. The first phase is Wilton Springs Force Main. The second phase is Cosby Force Main. The phase 3 is Wilton Springs Pump Station. And phase 4 is Cosby School Pump Station. And phase 5 is local Quarry Edwina Pump Station improvements. Now, I'll get to the point. We currently only have $14.6 million in funding. With the money we currently have, we cannot complete all 5 of these phases, but we must immediately start and complete as many of these phases as we can. The key question is how many phases can be built with the $14.6 million that we already have. Other questions that we need to be answered. Every day that this is delayed, inflation drives up the cost. How long has the $14.6 million been available to us? Why has it taken so long to start this bidding process for even one phase? We will not know the true cost of each phase until the bidding process is completed. Do you all agree with that?
That's correct.
So when will the bidding process begin and when will it be completed? The 6th District is willing to work together for a better, more functional, and transparent Cocke County government. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Hudson, I'm sorry, you weren't done. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you got, all you know about the 411 deal that's out there is just, you got it appraised, that's all you know.
Yes, sir.
There was issues about a ditch out there that was supposed to be some kind of environmental, just gonna have to do some due diligence on the ditch. I call it a ditch, they call it a stream. I mean, I've walked that property myself, and I call it a ditch. It's dry in the summer, and it's a little water in there. But, I mean, me personally, I'd like to see something get done with that.
Okay.
If it's the board's pleasure.
If you'll give me a chance, I'll try to find something on it and kind of come up to speed on it and see what I can come up with. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr.
Hold
Mayor.
it. Since you've been out there, why don't you and I go? And we'll go out and take a look at it.
Mr. McMahon, and then I'll get to Mr. Step.
I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
First one, obviously the bike trail, that's been going on, I guess, since 2019 or whatever, and now we're just now getting around to doing what we should have done years ago. The 5.5 million you referred to, that's still available for us to use for this project,
Yes, sir.
even after all these years?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that answers that question.
I contacted ARC, you have to set up an account online, so I changed that over to the contact information. I didn't put it in my name, I put it in Director at Cocke County Partnership. And we got an extension on that as well. So, we're not gonna lose that.
Okay, good.
Now, having worked in the federal government, I will say that, well, the worst thing you could ever hear when somebody rolls into town is say, we're from the federal government, we're here to help. So the federal government agencies operate very, very slow as compared to state agencies or local government. But, you know, the National Park Service is an agency that is a little bit more nimble. The United States Forest Service is a little bit more, they're a little bit more preservation oriented, not necessarily economic development or economic impact oriented like the Park Service. So it's a little bit slower on the Forest Service side.
Is that what the holdup's been in these projects? A lot of red tape?
Yes, and once it flipped back to the Cocke County side, which is a win, and all credit due to former Senator Alexander, once it flipped back to the Cocke County side, that's great. But the Forest Service has a lot more hoops to jump through than the National Park Service. National Park comes out of Department of Interior. U.S. Forest Service comes out of the United States Department of Agriculture. So totally different entities, totally different departments.
Mr. Step, you have a question? Go ahead, Mr. McMahon.
Second question, back to the sewer extension in Cosby. Obviously, we're short. We all know that. What is the plan? Is there other grants we're going to look at trying to apply for to make up this difference, or how are we going to?
I think our best avenue is probably to work with the state on that, because the state, TDOT is getting ready to redo the Wilton Springs exit and spend $25 million. But, you know, from an economic development standpoint, if you don't have sewer there,
Why redo that?
well, yeah, why redo that? I mean, it's kind of like that bridge to nowhere in Alaska. It makes
Is this
sense.
something we could get Jeremy Faison on board with? Get him?
I think our partnership will contact him and your state senator and try to get a meeting with the governor and ask for additional funding to do that. Now, there is one little catch here. $3 million of that money was awarded to Newport Utilities. So, and on the next phase of another grant, it needs to be determined if that grant is going to go through the county or is it going to go through Newport Utilities? That's a question I was asked the other day for the next round of funding from the engineers working on this sewer company. So I've got to figure out.
Is the $3 million for pump stations, or what was the $3 million award?
This actually goes back to Mr. Vassar's question, why it's taking so long. The initial $3 million was for engineering specs and drawings. So they are finishing up, and I think they were at 30 or 40%. That's why we haven't been able to go out to bid, because utilities has been doing the spec work.
Newport Utilities has been doing the spec work?
Yeah, they've been working in conjunction with the engineers, Cannon and Ken. And then because they'll be taking it over when it's done. So they need to approve the plans and the specs from the engineer, so, but that 3 million went to them.
All right, Mr. Stipp, you have a question?
Yeah, is there any way that you could, get it, like I discussed a while ago about the changing, where you take over where Mr. Graham was at? Can you give us a list of all the things that he had going and the status of them and what you're gonna do with it?
Yeah, well, this is pretty much that
List
list.
everything that's going on?
Yeah, I'll try to gather it up.
There's 2 developers, but again,
No, I'm not just talking about one thing, I'm talking about everything.
and so am I.
Yeah.
We've outlined the project that the previous folks were working on. There are developers that I have called as well, and we can tell you certainly about, we've talked to them or whatever, but as the chairman said, we can't disclose projects.
Right,
when they haven't
and
signed
I
it.
just mean like what I was talking about earlier, if the previous people have already got something going, what's your status with it? What are you gonna do with it? Are you gonna continue it? How far are you gonna continue it? How fast are you gonna continue it? You see what I'm saying? Just like anything that they've done before.
I can address that. Yeah, we've got it downloaded on all the projects.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
You just don't want anything to fall through the cracks.
Correct.
We actually, that is the assurance.
So, I mean, we might have spent $1 million on it and it's just gonna be wasted. Or
We've been in contact with all the projects. A speed, I think it's accelerating. Not by anybody's, it's just Forest Service, federal agencies. And we've had a lot of meetings bringing in teams of people. So there hasn't been nothing's been missed.
You have a figure of what the county has actually spent on this sewer line project so far?
The county? I think it's just a $3 million award, right?
Yeah.
Haven't spent any.
I thought it was my assumption that the former CLB gave us some money.
We have money allocated, we've not spent it.
Yeah.
Allocated.
Let's move on if it's okay. We still got the business. Is that okay with everybody so we can get moving? And I want to thank you, Mr. Brady. I know you're drinking from a fire hose right now, trying to get caught up.
Yes.
Thanks for everything. And I appreciate the partnership. Due diligence working with us all. And I think the board appreciates everything that's taken place so far. Right?
Yeah, that's a very good report.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Matter report from ambulance service. That copy is enclosed. Keep Cocke County beautiful, and nothing on the corrections partnership. So we're going to go to new business. Matter of approving Cocke County Library Board's appointment of Steve Davison to the second 3-year term of the Cocke County Library Board effective July 1st, 2024. Do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Vasher, seconded by Mr. McMahon. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. In the matter of setting the following speed limit in 2nd District, Sable Road for 30 mile an hour, do we have a motion to approve? Mr. McMahon, seconded by Mr. Miller. Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. C, in the matter of scheduling a public hearing for the rezoning of property located on 1984 Hartford Road. The Planning Commission recommends the property be rezoned from R1 to C1, so we will need to have another public hearing. If it's the board's pleasure, I would like to set that for 5:30 the night of the next monthly meeting instead of 5 o'clock. Is that okay? So we'll set that at 5:30. Then D, matter of children and immediate family who are gifted land to be exempt from subdivision regulations. I know we heard from the ladies earlier. Do we have any comments from the board? Sir?
We need to do something to help this lady. She's trying to give her kids 4 acres each. They claim that according to state law, they can only do it if she gets 5. Now, they shouldn't be bound by subdivision rules. There's no money changing hands. This land's being gifted. We need to work out something to get phase on, to get this changed or something. This is ridiculous. You should be able to build 5 houses on 5 acres.
I contacted the state because I didn't know what we could do legally, what we can't do. The first thing I was told is we can't do anything because that is state law that mandates what a subdivision is. Anything that's less than 5 acres is considered a subdivision. The gentleman from the state gave certain reasons for that. And anybody, you're welcome to reach out to him. His name is Harold Edwards. He's the State Planning Commission. There's reasons that not doing it. I can tell you also, I went online and done a little digging. In 2013, Mr. Brown, there was a bill presented to the state legislature from Mr. Faith and Steve Sutherland. And that bill was to make property that was gifted to not be under subdivision regulations. That bill also was wanting to change subdivision regulations from 5 acres to 1 acre. That bill was also going to change if a developer developed property, that they could come into some kind of agreement with the property owners, and it didn't have to go through the planning commission. It didn't have to be a road up to date. There was some opinions given when that state law was introduced in 2013 from the state planners. Long story short, the state legislature wouldn't touch it. And the reasons they gave for not touching it, first of all, how do you regulate it? How do you have two separate sets of rules for your people in your county? How do you hold this one to a standard and not these to a standard? And also, how do you keep a developer from buying property and saying, okay, I'm going to give this to my kids and let them build on it, and then turn around and sell it? You see what I'm saying? How do you control that? So the state legislature didn't touch it for that reason. There was also a reason given, how does it affect property in the future? Because according to the state, yeah, you own property right now. This is your property. But whose property will it be 100 years from now? So if you allow them to do that, 50 years from now, if it changes hands and you've got houses sitting up here and you've got a road that you've made up to those houses, and then all of a sudden there's a dispute over the right-of-way for the road, then you've got a mess. And another reason the state gave that they didn't want to touch it was safety. If you build a substandard road up to these houses and you have emergency trucks trying to get to those houses, then if it's a substandard road, you wind up turning up emergency vehicles or a safety issue for your emergency personnel trying to get up there, and then all of a sudden your county is paying to fix these emergency vehicles. So that was the reasons they give. But I'm just giving you some little background.
Okay, I've been informed also that you can do this if you get a needs and bounds survey done. But a surveyor won't touch it because of state law. This law we need to encourage Mr. Faison or somebody to change this law, to work to change.
Well, I mean,
you're
feel free to call
this is wrong.
But again, they tried it, and nobody else will touch it.
Well, they need to try again.
Well, okay. Feel free to reach out to him.
I'll make a motion that we request that Mr. Faison try to do this again and see what he can do with this law about getting it changed.
He's made a motion. Do you have a second?
I'll second it. I'll reach out to Jeremy myself.
We have a motion and a second to do it. I gave you the reasons, but, so, any other questions?
I mean, this is not going to cost, it's not going to cost the county anything for us to do what Mr. Bright said and what Ms. Ball seconded. It's not going to cost the county anything to go to Mr. Faison. I don't know that a vote would be the proper way. I'm not sure about that. You could be. But it's not going to cost the county anything to go to Mr. Faison and ask him, would you help our people out, you know? And that's what these folks are asking for help, is all they're asking for. And the young lady wanting to move a home on and get a start in their own county, I don't see anything wrong with it.
Talking about doing it as a complete CLB, I guess is what I'm understanding. And send a message to him as a group. I mean, like you said, it's not gonna hurt anything, but.
Yes. Yes. The request Mr. Faison try to do something.
Is the problem the gifting part of it, Norman?
The problem is the state law. The state law defines what a subdivision is. That's state law, what defines a subdivision. And what Mr. Bryant's asking is for Jeremy to go down and present a law or a bill to change state law.
And that affects every county, not just ours.
Yeah, that one.
I mean, it don't
Do you
hurt
know
to ask.
before you try?
We can do it, but it won't.
Well, I did, they tried in 2013 and it never even left the House floor.
Well, they failed once. Go to two.
We need to give him something to do anyway.
Well, just remember, any law, anything that you do concerning property, it's not now, it's what's gonna happen 50 or 100 years from now. Well, we have a second, motion and a second. Any other question? If not, roll call.
Andy Ford. Bill Miller.
Yes.
Caleb Blazer. Jason McMahon.
Yes.
Sorry. Norman Smith.
No.
Tracy Stepp.
Yeah, I get, yeah.
Jonathan Templin. Jeff Eslinger.
Yes.
Dan Bright.
Yes.
Wilma Ball.
Yes.
Rick Vassar.
Yes.
David Verdahl.
Yes.
Tim Lehman. Billy Hudson.
Pass.
Eight ayes, 1 nay, 1 pass, and 4 absent.
Motion carried. Next down,
I have a question. John Bell, what would it cost to do this that would need to be done for her, in order to get this?
The problem is anything that is less than 5 acres has to go through planning, and that's state law, nobody can do anything about that. But you're asking that the state see about changing that, which the state can do, they can change that. But right now, if it's less than 5 acres, you have to go through planning. And the only thing it means is you have to show up with planning with a plan on what you're gonna do. And planning looks at it and says, okay, this is good. And it's generally making sure a house is in a location so it's separate from other pieces of property. It's not right on somebody else's property line, and that your roads are appropriate, and that you've got the electric and your septic and all those things you have to have. And then planning approves it. And it's very common for them to approve things like that. It doesn't mean they can't do it, it just means they have to go through planning. But for the deeds itself, you would have to have a survey to divide up the land, because there's no way to divide up the land that is, I assume it's about 8 acres, if we're gonna divide it 4 and 4.
That's 12 acres total, we're divided between 3 children, 4 acres apiece.
Yes, so you'd have to have a survey to do that to start with. And see
Surveyor
that,
won't touch it, because of the state law. Surveyor will not come out and touch it.
well, surveyors will come out and do a survey, okay, and they'll give you the survey, and you've got to take that survey to the plan. Okay, I think maybe a misunderstanding about surveyors not coming out. Surveyors will come out and they will survey. They'll survey it down to, if you wanted an acre a piece, you could do that. But then you've got to take the planning to get that survey approved by the planning. Is that all right?
You're right.
Okay.
let's move on. Anything from miscellaneous? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion. All those in favor, sir, hold on a second, I'm sorry.
There's an amendment.
There was an
There
amendment
is.
that I don't have in front of me. My apologies. This is a matter of approving the revised civil service policy, County Sheriff. So, do we have a motion to approve? Commissioner McMahon, second Commissioner Westland. Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Motion to adjourn. Adjourn.